I'm just going to have to rename this something else. So here is the question of the episode this week. This past week in the box office, a movie came out that was getting a good critical response and what seemed like very good Twitter buzz. And that was Bros, starring Billy Eichner. It was a gay rom-com about two gay men falling in love. And it was a comedy of sorts. And I guess it was kind of a vulgar comedy, too, in a certain extent. Even though it was getting great word of mouth and people on Twitter saying they were excited to see the movie, it tanked. It actually did not well at all. Out of a $22 million budget, it only made $5 million in its opening weekend. It made $4 million in its opening weekend. It's currently at $5 million right now. It's looking like more theaters are going to drop the movie because it's not making much more sales. And yeah, it's honestly considered a box office bomb at this point. It was released at 3,500 theaters, and for it to make just that much money, yeah, that's not good at all. That is a dud right there. And what I will say about Bros is this: right now, I'll just get into why it possibly bombed. The thing about Bros is, if the word of mouth from critics is correct, is that this was going to be a movie that I would have to gain its audience. It would have to gain it by word of mouth. Bros reminded me of The Full Monty in 1997. This is I think a Irish movie about a bunch of lower class guys who are down on their luck, and in order to make money, start a male review show or a Chippendale show. It starred Robert Carlyle, Mark Addy of Game of Thrones. He played Robert Baratheon in the first season, and Tom Wilkinson was in it as well. And it was when it was released originally, it did not do well. It only released in a few theaters, but it didn't make much money. But word of mouth started growing about how good this movie was, and because of that, it stayed in the theaters and got into more theaters and made more and more money as time went on. And it became so successful that it eventually surprised everyone at that year's Oscars and got a Best Picture nomination for The Full Monty. It got Best Picture, Best Writer, Best Director, and I think it got Best Music too. I'm not sure about that last one. But it got the three awards that constitute what makes a great movie, which is writing and directing. It got nominations for those things. And something told me before this that this is exactly what was going to happen with Bros. That if the word of mouth was good enough, and it stayed in theaters and just eventually made more and more money, that it would eventually be the Full Monty of this year, to where I even said on Twitter that this movie could get an Oscar nomination for Best Picture this year, just by the word of mouth alone. And if they would have marketed this in a grassroots sort of way, I think it would have made a lot of money. I think it would have worked. But they instead decided to have a standard Hollywood release that would be more for higher budget movies. Now, this movie was made for about $25 million, but it had a marketing budget of $45 million. So that means in order for it to make its money back, it needs to make over $70 million. And then with the studio, it's probably asking for more money in return. So we're looking at upwards to about $85 to $90 million that it has to make just for the studio to be happy. And it tanked. It did not do well at all. My issue immediately was, you guys didn't market this well. Like, this isn't a movie, and I hate to say this because I do think, as somebody, and again, I'll preface this. I'm a straight man. I've always been straight, but queer cinema has always been very interesting to me. Some of the best movies, some of the best dramas have been queer cinema, and some of the best comedies too. You can of course point to Brokeback Mountain, but I will also say Love, Valor, Compassion. I would also say Bent, if anyone has seen. I don't think anyone's heard of Bent, but Bent was a great movie. There have been a number of queer cinema movies from like the 90s and the 2000s that are excellent, that people should give a chance and watch, because there is the added drama of that time where homosexuality was still kind of frowned upon, unfortunately. But that added drama and that added characterization gave more humanity in some drama and comedy than most straight comedies, which just shows the quality of the writing and the dynamic that queer cinema has that should be celebrated, and should be, I think, if more straight people would give it a shot, I think they would find some really good movies. But yes, I understand that some, and this is unfortunately true, if with some straight, with people who are straight to a certain extent, just like with any movies, if they can't connect with the character, they have a hard time. If they can't automatically relate, they have a hard time connecting, which is sad, because there are characters that I don't relate to that I can connect with. But it takes a while. It takes something to give them a chance to do that, and I think the word of mouth could have done that with Bros in this. It is sad that it failed. And when I posted this on Twitter, that's what I posted on Twitter, basically saying Bros will kill on streaming. I think if it was on streaming, it would be a top 5 for the year for any streaming service it would have, if it is as quality as critics are saying it is. Okay? But unfortunately, it's a niche audience, and unless it's really high quality and people can identify with the characters, it wasn't going to make money. And that, it's sad, but it's true. That's just how it works, unfortunately. And I thought that was the issue. And then someone replied to me and went, no, that's not the only issue here. And he showed me an article of Billy Eichner pretty much saying, if you're gay and conservative, I don't want you to watch my movie because you're a traitor. And I don't get why people in business do this. That if you don't agree with me, if you don't agree with 100% of my ideology and my thought process and everything, I don't want your business. I don't want your support. I don't want you to enjoy my stuff. I thought the entire point of art and the entire point of movies and entertainment is for people to connect with other people that they may have a hard time connecting with, to then just go out and say, yeah, if you don't think like me, don't fucking bother. You are asking to fail at that point. And if that, and of course, the person who told me this is gay and conservative. And when he told me that, he's like, and since that's fine, I'm not supporting you. And honestly, I don't blame him. Like, if you turned around and said to me, if you're not exactly like me, don't fucking bother supporting me, I was like, fine, I won't. Via con Dios, I'm out. So I completely understand that mentality. And then for Billy Eichner, after Bros bombed, to then blame homophobia and straight people for his box office bomb? Dude, I understand you are upset. You are dismayed by the fact that your film bombed. But I'm telling you, if you did this with a smile on your face and said, hey, I'm proud of the work that we did. It is important for LGBTQ representation to be on film, and for this film to have this much of a budget, this much of a box, and this how much of screens to be on there is important. Yes, I'm sad that it failed, but I love it anyway, and I really hope you guys give it a shot. I think more people would have given it a shot after the word of mouth was positive. But now that you're blaming straight people for not watching it and saying that it's homophobia is the reason why people didn't watch the movie, no, that's not what happened here. Bigger budget movies that people like. Let's really dive into this, okay? The only movies that make money in theaters right now are big budget movies that people perceive that the only way to really enjoy the movie is to watch it in the theater. We're talking Marvel. We're talking Top Gun, Mission Impossible. Those movies. Those movies make bank. Rom-coms don't do that anymore. They don't. And an example I would give, okay, is Happiest Season. Happiest Season is a movie that got decent reviews when it came out. And it's about it's a Christmas movie, and two, it's an LGBTQ movie about two lesbians who go to, I guess, one of their parents' house for Christmas, and even they had probably one of the most respected and best actresses out there in Kristen Stewart in this movie. That I saw it and I didn't really like it. But I understand the importance of having an LGBTQ movie that I guess is that, I would say, comfortable. Yeah, I would say comfortable, to be charitable here. But I understood the importance of that movie. And even though I did not like it, and I thought it was not that good, I understand why it needed to be made and why it was important for it to be made. But even they had a well-known, well-respected, beloved actress in Kristen Stewart. And what did they say? Yo, this isn't going to make much money, so we should put this on streaming. Hey! Why didn't you guys think of that for a second? Why didn't you guys say, like, hold on a second. If one of the most respected actresses had an LGBTQ movie, a rom-com, and even they said it wasn't going to make the money we'd need, we need to sell this on streaming. What made you think, with a bunch of actors that no one has heard of, talented actors, don't get me wrong, but a bunch of actors that people haven't heard of, okay? What made you think that was going to sell? What? What did you think was going to do that? Because I could have told you from day one, that ain't going to work. You're not going to make $80 million. That's not going to work. Put it on streaming. Don't bother with marketing. Do a grassroots campaign. Do a social media campaign. Do that. Don't do that. Don't spend twice the amount of your budget on marketing. It's not going to work. I could have told you that. I mean, straight rom-coms don't make much money. Gay ones aren't going to either, unfortunately. Unless they are unparalleled, fantastic, and they are made in such a the lowest common denominator that anybody can enjoy it. Like, I'm talking about like Birdcage. Okay? If they made the Birdcage again, maybe that would have made money. But at that point, you doomed yourself to fail. And that's not straight people's fault. It's not homophobia. It's bad fucking marketing. It's bad business. You guys should have recognized at this point, around the time that it was about to be released, that we're releasing it in October, which is where more scary movies are coming out, or in the fall, or movies that are Oscar bait movies. So, haughty-taughty dramas. So, we're going to be the odd duckling out here. And people aren't looking for those movies per se. We're also an LGBTQ film, which has a limited audience, unfortunately. We probably should put it on streaming. I think, honestly, I think Netflix would have bought it, and you would have been fine. You would have made your money. Now, if you go to streaming, they're going to lowball you. They're going to say, well, your film bombed, so you need to prove that we're going to get the clicks and we're going to get the retention that we need. So we're not going to pay top dollar for it. So you're screwed now. If this movie is as good as the critics say it is, I want it to succeed. I want more queer films. Like I said in the beginning, some of the best movies out there are queer films, or LGBTQ films, sorry. Like, the best romance in the past 10 years, I think, is Call Me By Your Name. Such a deep, meaningful, beautiful movie that I adore. And I'm straight, and I like it. Okay? But I also recognize that unless it is such a good quality, it's not going to make money. And you guys failed at business, and then with Billy Eichner blaming everybody, but honestly, maybe his producers, his marketing team, his team, maybe himself. I mean, without that, like, you now just shot yourself in the foot. Now no one's going to see your movie until it's in streaming. And maybe in a few years' time, this will become a cult hit. And people are like, wow, it's so unfortunate that this movie bombed in the theaters. So good. Well, unfortunately, your marketing and your business people, and possibly Billy Eichner, is probably why that is at this point. And I'll be upfront, I will watch it when it comes into streaming. I don't watch movies in theaters anymore for personal reasons. And but yeah, like, I'll watch it when it comes out. But for anyone now, for people who are like, I could give that a chance, for now, if you to blame straight people and homophobia, they're going to go, fuck you. I'm not going to watch this. Fuck you. And you know what? You earned it. Sorry to be harsh on you, but that is the case, unfortunately.